It's my pleasure to introduce Ann as our presenter today. She's the CEO of ASMM Digital Marketing. As a social media and marketing consultant, Ann specializes in helping small businesses create a community around their brand, product, and services. She also hosts the Small Business Connections podcast, and Ann's mission is to help small businesses be seen and remembered. In addition, Ann is the co-founder of Burgers and Bans for Suicide Prevention, which raises awareness for mental health. Funds raised from this initiative go back into schools to create much needed mental health initiatives. In 2003, Ann completed Ironman. I'm impressed. And was dubbed Iron Ann by her social media followers. So we thank you for leading this webinar today, and I'm going to turn it over to you now, Ann. And everyone should be on mute, so please use the chat if you have questions.
All right, and you can all see my screen now?
Yep.
All right, so I am Ann Brennan. I own ASMM Digital. Before I start, I have to thank you for coming, and I'm going to tell you guys a secret. I do that for a couple of reasons, but mostly I do it because I'm scared to death every time we do this that nobody will show up. And so I really appreciate you coming to hear, what I have to say today. We're going to talk about marketing, but I hate to give marketing advice that I feel like is just something you're going to hear and then you're not going to get anything from. I want you to be able to walk away with something today. And so I'm going to tell you something that I have told dozens of friends who've called me and asked me for marketing advice, which is don't create something one time and think that it's going to do anything for you. You're going to want to use it over and over and over again in creative ways. So that's what we're going to talk about, how to do that today. So first, I want to talk, you hear everybody says content is king, right? You hear them, content is king. The problem I have with that is people create this beautiful content, but they're not consistent about it. So they'll they'll spend $2,500 on a polished video, they'll put it out there, and they'll think everybody's going to come running because of this video. But they only put it out there one time, and then they don't post anything for another 3 weeks or another 3 months. And then they put another beautiful polished video up and they think something's going to happen. And so we're going to teach you how to be consistent in your marketing, because consistency is king. And actually, I'm going to give you, as we go, I'm going to give you these little tidbits of write down these questions. And at the end, if you don't have a question to ask this one, which is how many times should I post every week? And I'll tell you the answer to that at the end. I want you to start thinking in campaigns. Think about, what is a campaign I can run for my business? Should I run a campaign about my services? Should I run a campaign about our tagline? Our tagline means a lot to us. And should I run a campaign that has something to do with that tagline? But think in campaigns. What kind of campaigns can you run in your social media for your business? This one is really important. Who knows your industry better than you? I can't see all of you, so I'm going to ask you a question, but I know the answer, which is, how many of you struggle with imposter syndrome? How many of you say, well, I'm the CEO of my small business, but really it's just a small business, it doesn't count? Or I hope nobody figures out that I'm not really the expert in my industry because I'm constantly having to learn from somebody else new things. We all think this. We all think we don't know enough. The thing is, we know more about our industry than most people, and we know it in a unique way. So we're going to help you use your content to show people that you are the expert. Sometimes that'll mean creating a piece that is specific to your industry in like how to, but sometimes it's just telling them why what you do is just so much different than what somebody else does in that industry. When we said think in campaigns, I asked people, what do you wish people knew? And they'll originally give me something vague, like, well, I wish people knew that we have the best customer service, or I wish people knew that we make the best margaritas. And that's great, but can you be more specific? Can you be more specific about how you wish they knew it. How do you give the best customer service? Give them examples, show them those things. So start creating that list of, I wish people knew these things, and then break it down. How can you show each of those specific things? If it's how we make the best margaritas, well, how many different margaritas do you make? And what do you put in them? What's that secret ingredient that makes yours better? Lime juice, fresh lime juice, not out of a bottle, right? That's the best. So that's your secret to the best margarita. But what is your secret for us? We talk about this a lot. Our secret ingredients at ASMM are gratitude and authenticity. We are always going to be real with you, and we are always going to be grateful for your business. So we put that in everything we do, and it makes us different. We wish people knew that. So we tell them. I tell everybody I meet, I tell everybody on social media, I tell everybody in every webinar I do, what makes us special is that we are authentic and we are always grateful. So what do you wish people knew? Start that list, carry out, I have the little notebook here. I carry a little notebook with me all the time that I'm constantly writing down. Oh, I wish people knew we did that. I wish people knew how much time we spend on this particular area of our business that makes their business better. What are those things? Write them down on a regular basis. Answer the public. This is sort of cheating. So you will hear people say, go to Google and start typing your industry into the bar, right? Into the search bar. It's a good way. It's a pretty good way of finding out what people are asking. So if you type in toilet, you might get, why is my toilet clogged? Or why is my toilet making that noise? Or why is there sweat on the outside of my toilet? What's happening? Those are great questions, but there's a cheat way to do that. And I love this website so much. It's called Answer the Public. And it will give you what people are looking up in your industry. But be specific again. Don't just say plumbing if you're plumbing, right? Be specific. Look up toilets or look up your dishwasher and see what questions people are asking about those, because then you're going to use that to create content. All of this gathering of information is how you're going to create bigger content. Nobody likes to hear this. It is the worst thing I have to say, but you are all forgettable. We are all forgettable. I might do the very best job in the world. I might show up, for crying out loud, in a clown suit, and still they're going to forget me. So how am I going to make them remember me? How am I going to do that? I'm going to do it by creating great content and putting it out there consistently. Every single day, I'm going to put something out there so that they remember me. And honestly, with our business, I put things out 5 times a day. I put something on social media 5 times a day. That's a lot. It's probably too much for most businesses because they don't have time, but you cannot overdo it. People need to see you on a regular basis. So start big. This is the biggest key. A lot of people will wake up in the morning and they'll say, what am I going to post on social media today? Don't do that. If it's the only way you're going to get it done, fine, do it, but you're making a lot of work for yourself. Instead, start big. Create big pieces of content. Long form blogs. Long form blogs can be something like the 10 reasons to work with a home inspector before you buy a house, or the 10 reasons to work with a home inspector after you've bought the house to do your budgeting, right? It's something long. It's going to be at least 10 paragraphs long if you do that, and probably more. So something very long. An ebook about your industry. This is a little harder to do, but if you have a blog, you can turn your blog into an ebook. So that's a good way to do that. Webinars, this sort of thing. If you create them for yourself, you put it out there, you've gotten a really big piece of content that you can repurpose later. And I'm going to tell you how to do that. I'm going to show you how we do it. And I'm going to specifically show you how we did it for ourselves. Podcast it seems very, very hard. It doesn't have to be. You can make it easy. And we can show you again how to do that. Case studies are great. What have you done for somebody recently? What is it that you've done that really you're proud of, and you can show how it's worked, what you did, what you put into it? and what the product was at the end, how it worked in the end for you. Guides. If you guys, if you have a chance, go over and visit Tara Frame's website. She's an estate attorney. If you look at her website, she has these wonderful guides that she's created for estate planning. Some of them are, here's your guide for all the documents you should have in one place just in case something horrible happens, right? Or what to do if you have a blended family. So she creates a whole series of guides and she uses them as lead generators, but then she can also repurpose that content. And videos. Videos are probably my all-time favorite because they're the easiest. And I just said earlier, oh, well, $2,500 for a video, right? That doesn't have to be the case. One of our favorite clients is a plumber. And when he's leaving a house, he sits in his truck, he holds his camera up like this, and he talks to it and he says, you are not going to believe what I just found in the drain. And he tells a little story and people love them. They laugh at it. They find it interesting. And they think, boy, I better make sure my kid's not putting that down the drain, right? So he creates things that we're able to use multiple times, but create stuff that's big because we're going to then make it smaller. So, right, I'm done. I created this great piece of content. I'm going to put it out there. Everybody's going to come. They're going to buy all my stuff. I'm going to get rich because I created this one piece of content. So I'm done, right? No, you're just starting. Again, you're forgettable. So repurposing that content is how you're going to make people remember you. Putting it out there on a regular basis is how you're going to make them remember you. I don't know how old everybody is in the room. I can tell you, I see Amber and she looks much younger than I am. So, but who in here remembers the commercial, the McDonald's, the Big Mac commercial? 2 all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, right? And that was 40 years ago. But they repeated it over and over and over and over again. And you're going to want to do that. As you go forward, you're going to want to figure out ways to repeat it. Not necessarily the same commercial because people aren't big on marketing. And I'm going to stop there for a minute and say something. Marketing has changed. People don't trust commercials the way they did before. That's why this content is so important. You want to entertain your followers. You want to entertain them. You want to educate them. You want to show them that you're the expert. That doesn't mean always saying, buy, buy, buy. You don't want to be the mattress guy that says, guys, we have the biggest, best, wonderful sale. Come out and get it now. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to give them information that makes them think, wow, I really want to work with that person. She really knows her stuff. She's really got this down. She understands it. And I want to be a part of that. I did an interview yesterday with a CPA, and it was exactly that. As I'm interviewing her, I'm looking and thinking, I've got to work with this woman. And it's just because she was sharing so much of the information she knows that I knew, yeah, I've got to be a part of what she does. So that's what you want to create. Marketing shouldn't all be about sales. It should be about showing who you are and giving and giving and giving, and then asking a little bit. But giving, 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 ask. That's how you should do your marketing. So this is my story. It looks like a lot. It is a lot, but I want to tell you what we created last March. And this was where this whole webinar came from. Last March, I panicked. I have to be honest with you. I'm a panicker. I'm a worrier. It's what I do. My husband says, don't worry. And I say, oh, sweetie, no. That's what I do. I worry for a living. But I was panicked. What's going to happen? Everything's closing down. What's going to happen to my clients? What am I going to do? And so my knee-jerk reaction was, I'm going to create a video series and I'm going to interview every single one of my clients on Facebook. And I use something called StreamYard. If you want to write that down, it is a wonderful tool, StreamYard. So I was able to interview them on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube all at the same time. The interview went to all of those places. So automatically I'm creating with one interview 3 pieces of content. And that was the beginning of this whole repurposing campaign that created thousands of pieces of content. So I put them in front of my idea was, I'm going to put them in front of my followers. That's all. I'm just going to put them in front of my Twitter followers, my Facebook followers, and my YouTube followers. And then as I did that, I realized, wait a second, I can pull the audio from this video and I could create an actual podcast that I put up on Libsyn. And what does Libsyn do with it? So that's Libsyn. If you're looking for a platform for your podcast, Libsyn. I don't get paid by them. It's the one I like. There are others, so feel free to look them up. But when I put it on Libsyn, they send it to Apple. They send it to Spotify. They send it to my little device over there that I can't say her name or she's going to start talking to us. They send it to 27 different places. So now my one podcast is on all 3 of my social media platforms, 27 places as an audio, and I'm going to do more with it. I'm going to take that same content and I'm going to put it up as a video on my website. So I have a video page on my website. It has every single video on it. You can click through and there's a page for it. And there are show notes that go with it. But just in case you're not really a video kind of person, I also created a page for the podcast. And that way you can go to that page and see every single podcast we've done. And you can download every single one of those and see the show notes there. So now I've created a place on my website, 2 places actually, where Google can suddenly find me. That's why you want to put it back on your website, because Google's going, wait a second, what is this? Oh, there's information on CPAs. I'm interviewing currently entrepreneurs. So they're looking and they're like, oh, there's an interview with a CPA, and oh, there's one with a financial advisor. Oh, and there's this. And it keeps coming back to me for these different areas, these different subjects, but that's bringing people back to my website. So let's go back to how I started this. I didn't start it for me. I started it so that my clients would be seen. I was giving, but that piece of content I created suddenly became something for me that was bringing people to my website, that was bringing people back to me. We do something else with it after we've done all of that, after we've taken the entire blog and the entire podcast and we've used it whole in all these places. We start taking it and we start dividing it. And now we've developed a whole system so that at the end of a video, at the end of the interview that I do, I break it down into 5 segments and I send each of those 5-minute segments over to my interviewee. And I say, hey, you can share this with your social media people. Anywhere you have social media, put it up there, put it on your website. And I give them the whole video as well. Put it on your website if you want to. Here's the link to my YouTube channel. And that's, again, sending people back to us, but it's giving us this added content, and they're tagging us every time they do it. So we're out there, but we're also taking that same content and we're sharing it on our page. And this is an extreme example of what we're doing here, but you can do this with anything. So how many of you have blogs? Does anybody have blogs here? So blogs are great. You can take a blog and do this exact same thing. And I'm going to give you a cheat because I love it so much. There's something called Lately AI. So latelyai.com. I can get you, if you wanted to look at it, I think I could get somebody there to do a demo for you and show you how it works. But you can go put your blog link in and it will take and pull out different bits of that blog and create posts for you. So I wrote a blog yesterday, actually, Kristen saw it, about using calls marketing and being a better community leader, really, but being involved in charities within your sorry, my son's in another room. Can you guys all hear him? Being more involved with your community. And if I take that and I put it in there, I got 27 different posts for social media without very much work at all. I think it took me a total of 20 minutes I put it in there, it spit them out. I edited them to make sure it sounded like I wanted them to sound. And then I hit send and it auto-generated so that it repeats on a regular basis on social media. And that one blog post I put out to repeat that particular one every 2 weeks for a year, but different bits of it so that it's going out in a different way every time. So this is the thing that people get tied up with. They're like, I don't want to just put things out there that are repeating. The problem is on social media in particular, only about 2% of the people who are following your page will see that post. So you might see it every time and go, goodness gracious, I'm sick of seeing this. But your followers aren't. And you need them to see it multiple times. So you've got to put it out there a lot. You've got to continually put it out there. And that doesn't necessarily mean putting it out there exactly the same way. Here, come look at my blog, but a different way each time. So my post yesterday, yesterday I put out and said, hey, how are you helping your employees find a cause they care about? And I sent them to Kristen, right? And that was a way of giving. And the next one will be, hey, what are you personally doing to support your employees, right? So we're coming up with different ways of taking that one particular piece of content and putting it out for months at a time on social media. Now, the other thing that we did, and I think it took us about 3 weeks to figure out that we should do this, we started scheduling our clients, our interviews out. We started scheduling them. So we said, oh, we've got this interview we're doing, and we think that their followers will come and watch it if we create an event for it. So we created an event on Facebook, and that gave us a whole other type of content to have. So if you've got something coming up, you've got a webinar like this, don't just send it out in your newsletter. Don't just put it on your website. Create an event on Facebook. And over the past year, Google added events. So you can create an event on Google. And LinkedIn added events. So you can add an event on LinkedIn. And all of them will lead them back to the same place, which is where the event's going to be, whether it's a webinar or whether it's a live event. We have Burgers and Bands actually in a few weeks. So that's a live event. And we have that up on all 3 platforms. So make sure you're creating those events to give you that extra bit. And then consider this. Sometimes I'm listening to myself as I'm doing it. I'm listening to people talk on my show, and I think, I have something to say about this subject. So I'm going to take what they've just said, I'm going to add my opinion, and I'm going to write something completely different. I'm going to create a blog. So now I have a whole new piece of content that isn't actually at all like this, but it plays off of it. So what I want you to do is when you create that big piece of content, think, what are the hundreds of ways that I can use that one piece of content? What are the hundreds of ways? So let's go back to if it were you. You've created a blog. What are you going to do with it? Yes, you want to divide it and you want to put it so that it goes out on social media multiple times. But what else could you do with it? You could create a YouTube video. You could create a YouTube video and you could talk about the 10 ways to do a home inspection. Or actually, I would say and you can then create separate videos for each of those ways. And then you'd share those on your social media. Do you see how this is working? That if you're taking it and you're creating it and you're basically, has anybody seen my logo? And I don't think I've put it on anything. Our logo is this big swirl. And the reason is because when I'm talking, I say, you want to do your blog, and then you want to add in your website, and then you want to add in your social media, and you want to do a podcast if you can do it, and you want to do so many videos. It should all swirl together. It should all work together. And then at the end of the month, some of the bigger pieces of content you've created, you can put into a newsletter that you send out to all your customers and linking back to each of those pieces of content. And suddenly you are not just the expert in your head. You don't just have the stuff that you know and nobody else knows you know. You're the expert. You're the one they're calling and saying, hey, Ann, I want to create this blog. What do I do next? Right? Hey, Chris, I have this problem with my house and I saw you were doing videos about home inspections. Is this something you can do for me? So you want to create content that leads them back to you in a way that they see you're the expert. And then the other part of this, and honestly, I have to tell you, I've been doing this for an entire year. with this whole podcast thing. And I literally, as I was doing this webinar, realized, wait a second, all of this stuff also is giving me opportunities that I had not considered that's what they were doing. It's given me opportunities to guest blog. So when an interviewee comes on, I'll sometimes say, do you have a blog? And if they do, I'll ask, can I guest blog on it? If they're on YouTube, I'll say, hey, do you want to share my videos on your YouTube channel? Or do you want me to send you some of this video that you can share on your YouTube channel? And that's putting me out there. I'm a podcast guest. Actually, tomorrow I'll be on a podcast for scaling up your business. And it gives me speaking engagements. So when you start creating these big pieces of content and you show that you're the expert in the room, you're going to find that these opportunities come. And these opportunities all lead back to more business. And I want to give you that. I want to tell you how that worked for us. We did this to help our clients. Every single time we did it, every single time without exception, the people have called me, at the person who's been interviewed, and said, somebody called me for my service. Every single time they got business from it. And that was my goal. But better than that, and I'm not completely selfless. I want to build my business. Our business grew. It doubled within a couple of months of doing this whole podcast thing and getting myself out there that way. We hired during COVID. We changed exponentially. And now we're getting calls from across the country to speak at different events. We're getting calls from people saying, hey, can you help my client? We're getting calls from other agencies saying, hey, can we partner with you on some of this stuff? Because this is labor intensive. And so the opportunities that have come our way have been phenomenal. We have found that our business has built, but it has been a matter of consistency. It's been a matter of making sure our content is great. And most importantly, it's been a matter of making sure our content is giving people the things they can use, right? It's giving them what they can use. So I want to go back to this starting big. And I want you write this list down. Think about this list. What are the things on here that you can do? And I'm going to tell you a couple of things. My big confession, yes, I do my podcast. I do that because it's my face, so I have to be there. It's my voice, so I have to be there, right? But for years, I've been telling my clients, you need blogs, you need blogs, you need blogs. And every couple of weeks, or maybe every couple of months, or really probably every 6 months or so, I would write a blog post. And finally, Anastasia, who's my COO, said, Ann, take your own advice. And so I'd love you to go over and see what we've done with our blog, because I took my own advice and I hired a copywriter. And they are not expensive. They are really not. And you can start with somebody young. You can start with a college student in a lot of cases. But having a blog that goes up every single week changes your profile. So that's why I want you, if you get a chance, ASMM digital/blog. If you look at that, I think you will really see what a blog can do for you. I think it will make a big difference in your mind. You'll see it, you go, well, wait a second, how do I do that? And really it comes from hiring somebody to do it. And we have a whole list of bloggers who will help you. We have a whole list of copywriters who will help you. And we have some who charge $40 a blog, and we have some who will charge $300 a blog, depending on what you need. So you let me know, we'll put you in touch with somebody who can do that for you. But which of these things can you do? And how much time can you commit to doing them? So I want to tell you, and I don't think I'm going to come back. We're going to come back to this in just a minute. I want to tell you there are some cheats. You do not have to wake up every morning and try to figure out what you're going to post. Lately, AI is wonderful. I love that. It's a great way to do it. And you can see what you've got scheduled out. That's a great way to do it. Another one I like is Zoho Social. That can do it for you. Hootsuite, I've kind of fallen off with. I don't love them anymore because they're just taking too long to get things posted. But when you start using these systems and you start sitting down, and nobody likes to work on the weekend, but I'm going to encourage you to do it once a month. Sit down once a month and schedule out the next month or two. And don't think about the fact that you're going to use something one time. I'm going to give you a really good way to do it. Create something and post it today, and then share it again next month. And then don't share it the next month, but share it again the next month. Skip a month and share it again. That will keep you sane. And I'm telling you this because the truth is, this is what we do for our clients. Our clients, we will post it 4 times. We'll share it 2 times in a row, 1 month, this month, next month, and then we'll skip a month and do it again, and skip a month and do it again. That's not how I do it for myself. The way I do it for myself is to do it every single month. I will post the same thing every month because I want 5 things a day to be going up because I know people aren't seeing them. So I need to bombard the internet with my information. The reason I don't do it for my clients isn't because it takes a lot of work. It's because no matter what I try, when I put it out there that 4th time, without exception, the client calls me and says, "Oh, I don't want to see that one anymore. We have just figured that out. They don't want to see it anymore." And because they still can't understand that they're the only ones that seen it 4 times, I gave up. And I'm like, we're just going to post it 4 times and then we'll create new content for you. We create new content not to replace the old content, but to supplement it and to supplement it and to build these layers on top of layers. And it's why when people see us, they say, "Gosh, Ann, you're everywhere. I can't believe how well things are going for you right now." And I'm like, well, okay, they're going great, but you're seeing me everywhere because we're pushing ourselves out there in a way that is that way. I gave you a lot of information, but I wanted to give you a chance to ask me questions. You can ask me how we did this, how it worked.